Hello and welcome to the online discourse on the challenges and opportunities for minorities in Pakistan, a conversation with Asif Aqeel. Thank you so much, Asif Saab, for providing us your valuable time. This series is organized by South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. I'm your host, Furqan Ahmed. So I'll quickly introduce Mr. Asif Aqeel, and then we'll move on to our question and answer sessions. Mr. Aqeel is a Pakistani newspaper journalist, researcher, academic, and activist focusing on the religious minorities. He is a deputy director of Center for Law and Justice. He is also a visiting faculty member at the Lahore School of Law, where he teaches sociology to law students. He also extensively writes for international and national media outlets on religious minorities, including the UK-based World Watch Monitor and the UK-based Christianity Today. He was also one of the first reporter in mainstream English media covering the issues of Pakistan's Christian community and international media. Previously, he has been part of the national lobbying delegation for minority rights in Pakistan's struggle for equal rights of minorities. He also has worked for Delhi Times as an assistant editor and with New Express News 24/7, an English news channel. He also was working in the capacity of associate producer. You have Mr. Aqeel has done BA in journalism, MSc in sociology, and MA in public policy and governance. Thank you so much, Mr. Aqeel, for your time. So I'll quickly move on to our first question today. Yeah, as a journalist and academic and activist focusing on religious minorities in Pakistan, can you please describe some of the challenges that these communities face in the country?
Thank you very much for inviting me on your forum, and it's a great opportunity for me to share from my experience what religious minorities have been through. One thing and we can clearly see that there is discrimination that religious minorities face because of their otherized identity. Christians or Hindus or even Sikhs, they are their co-workers, the neighborhoods where they live. They are made to feel that they are different, and this different is not positive not on a positive note. They are explained in terms of as if they belong to some other part of the world. Hindus are told that they are Indians, and Christians are told that they are Westerners, despite the fact that no one is ready to take us. Hindus, when they go to India, they come back. And you might be surprised, in the Western countries, they do not like to give visas to Christians because for them it's easier to adjust there. And so that's another story, how people perceive us here. And then this negative identity has other repercussions. Also, you can see when there's an accusation of blasphemy on any non-Muslim, it is not limited to one person. It is actually goes beyond that person, and whole community or neighborhood is attacked. It means that because of their identity, this is called guilty of association. I am Christian, someone else did it, or even if he or she actually didn't do it, someone just raised a slogan. But if it were a Muslim, and then people will ask if he really did it, and if he did it, his family would remain safe. They would say, we are not concerned with this person. So, and then we also see that Christian or Hindu, particularly girls, minor girls, are under more pressure. They are being expected by Muslim men to have relations with them. This is by many ways. Grooming is one way. They try to. And then we continuously hear invitation to Islam. So it's a duty, that's fine. Every Muslim thinks that it is his obligation. But this duty becomes more oppressive, you can say. For example, if I don't accept, then it has consequences. And one is explained as if he is belittled because of his identity. And then political representation is also an issue. People don't vote for non-Muslims, very few examples. It's not that if I really want to serve my country as a politician, and the first challenge is, oh, I am not Muslim, so I shouldn't even think about it. So these are some, and then security is also an issue. And these days you have seen that there is target killing of Hindus and Christians, which is, I think, which is new for me. It has never taken place like this before. So these are the challenges, a few challenges. There must be many more.
Yeah, thank you so much, Asif Saab, for giving us a detailed input on some of the challenges that minorities face. Especially, you talk about the negative, identity, and also you've reflected to the fact that, association. Linking someone with someone else's relation, someone else's fault is basically, is happening in Pakistan and other South Asian countries as well. And you talked about political representation, which is again a huge issue. Politics is an arena where you can highlight your issues. People would have to think twice or something when they apply for their political, representation. So yeah, I totally agree with that. So moving on to our next question, what impact does discrimination and persecution of religious minorities on the broader social fabric of Pakistan?
I think it has huge repercussions, and Pakistani Muslims, some of them have started realizing it. It is actually not just the minorities. Religious minorities are only 4% in Pakistan. But if you look how the fragmentation process, it started with non-Muslims, exactly only with Hindus and then even Christians who supported the creation of Pakistan, they started facing it because it keeps going down. This fragmentation is not stopping. Then it was, okay, who is Muslim and who is not. Then it was, are Shias or Zikris Muslim or not. And then among Sunnis, if someone is Deobandi or Brelvi. So I think this process is not stopping. It's not now limited to religious minorities. So this process of religionization of the state, because when religion is a private matter, then nobody cares about it. But when it is related to political identity, and definitely political identity means access to resources. So when it is related to access to resources, then everyone would try the market, the economic competition enters into religious identity and politics and formation of your identity. So now, who is a good Muslim? He should be in the government. So he should be able to lead so this is going on. And it is ultimately hurting Pakistan. Social cohesion, it is eroding. And we have seen it. It is eroding. And this is not stopping. Then there's a loss of, you can say, human potential as well. We have seen very good judges. The best judges in Pakistan have been non-Muslims, be it A.R. Cornelius. Today we have judges in the Supreme Court, and everyone is questioning one or the other side, questioning their integrity. But if you take the name of A.R. Cornelius, people do not look at him having any side. So this is loss of human capital, what we could get something good out of religious minorities, and they could actually serve better the country. We are losing their capital, and then they are also leaving the country. This migration. And then the other issue is also, this is a new age. Anything happening here or anywhere else can quickly spread across the globe. So if you misbehave or do not treat minorities well, it impacts Pakistan's image in the US, in Europe, and in other parts of the world. So Pakistan is losing its image as a good country, as a country, and then it also democracy. authoritarian rule rather than majority, rather than democracy.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it right that it's just religionization of a state, which is basically is hurting Pakistan or any other state which is like portraying as a religious state. Take the example of BJP as right, and you've also talked
Yeah.
about the the loss of human potentials as well. I mean, you just highlighted about the judiciary part. I mean, I've seen many wonderful or people with great minds working in the health sector as well. I mean, take the example of the nursing staff or the other staff are from mostly from religious minorities. And yeah, globalization is a key. I mean, whatever happens spreads like a wildfire. So yeah, I totally agree with what you just highlighted. Uh, so it's about your own self. So what basically motivated you to become an advocate for religious minority rights, and what kind of work you have done in this field?
Basically, discrimination. That was the driving force, to be very straightforward, without mincing words. Uh, I was like in class when I took exams of matriculation. I had few months free before going to college, and I requested one of my friends whose father was a manager in a medical company. They were making medicine. So I asked him if I could do some labor there for this few months. And when I went there on the first day, I was asked what is my name, and I told him my name is Asif and Aqeel. He said, "Here either you are Muhammad Asif or Asif Masih." And it was the first time it is back in 87. It might not be taking that way now in Pakistan, but so I said my name is Asif Aqeel, but I am Christian, but I do not have this Asif Masih. My attendance was marked as Asif Masih for all those 3 months I worked there. And then on the third day, I was told by the man who was bringing very dirty thela, eatery, bringing food. He said, "You are Christian, and I can't offer you food." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Others object over it." And I had to each day walk like a kilometer from there uh, because the factory was on a railway station, Lahore railway station. So I had to walk railway headquarters, and there were I used to eat. So that motivated, actually, that decided the fate of my life. Otherwise, I would have spent all this energy on something other than this work. Looking at it, I could have become something else. I could have more in the economic side, but I am just spending my life analyzing why we are not being allowed to get prosperous in this country. So, who made me this to work on this? This is basically discrimination, which is I am challenging and clearly explaining.
Absolutely, the sense of untouchability, still prevails in our society, and you've rightly, and I basically, I mean, to be honest with you, I really like your work, the way you are standing up, and the way you are, journalism is a hard nut. You've done that, right? And you'll still be doing it in this in the shape of articles and stuff like these. So hats off to you what you're doing, and we admire and we offer our fully support whatever you are doing. So in your opinion, what role do the media and the government play in shaping attitudes towards religious minorities in Pakistan? That's a follow-up question.
Yeah, I think media, some of the media on the English side, they are doing it. The Urdu side is not. They are, I guess so. I don't read it a lot, so I'm not a good judge, but I still think that the Urdu media actually can do better. Then I see that they can do it. They can give some inclusivity. They can give them voice, and they can, the way you are taking my expression, it back like 20, 30 years back, it was not possible in Pakistan. So I see that it is changing, and the media, although we are talking in English, but this all can be done in Urdu as well. So recently, PIDE had a program they invited, and they had my views similarly, maybe harsher than this. They allowed these sets. So I think giving voice is very important, and also taking up positive stories from the communities, and even Muslims who do go to religious minorities, and they express that generosity which Qaeda Muhammad Ali Jinnah promised with religious minorities. I think that should be given coverage in the media. On the government side, government needs to be, but overall, this government, Pakistan is not a very law-abiding people. Neither the people are nor the state has its writ over people. So, but if the government does, that they give better protection to religious minorities. And whenever there is an issue, if someone takes law in his or her hand against religious minority, it should be curbed. That should be done with every human being, but particularly with religious minorities, so they have the sense that the government protects them. But so far, it is the state which actually is used to curb, to suppress religious minorities. It is not the state itself, but it is the people in the state. For example, if the police, rather than standing with me for justice, it's standing with someone because someone else is a Muslim and is doing injustice, so then the state apparatus is used that way. So I think the state needs to look at it how, and then it needs to promote such policies where religious minorities are given more space. For example, the job quota, it should be better implemented. We are being given dirty jobs alone. The quota, first it wasn't there. So there is hard, tough micromanagement being done, keeping the minorities out of those good jobs and keeping them in the cleaning occupation, particularly for Christians and scheduled caste Hindus. So I think the state needs to be more generous. It should be actually giving more space to religious minorities. They should, the bar of merit should be lower down for them. For example, are these Muslims living here very bright scholars that they are getting admissions in Fulbright scholars? Those countries have opened doors for these people as a generosity. So the same is with the GSP plus status. Pakistan doesn't qualify it. So when it comes to religious minorities, all of a sudden the mantra of meritocracy comes in. But are the Muslims very reaching the merit when they are getting admissions? You look at the Higher Education Commission. It's the chairman has been accused of plagiarism. Has somebody removed him from his office? The same chairman comes in the National Assembly and he says that we cannot give education quota because it will compromise the quality of education. Look at the quality. I teach in a law school, and I see what type of the students are coming from schools. So I think it's just like a way of meritocracy is only a way to keep religious minorities out of the system. So they need to be sympathetic, they need to be empathetic, and that needs to be in the government. The government should have officers who have this empathy. So that's what the government can do. And then meaning implementing the laws and giving more space to religious minorities. This is what the government can do. And it promote interfaith dialogue, not the dialogue which I experience. They invite us on interfaith dialogue and they preach us only Islam, and that's the dialogue. So I hate that type of dialogue. So I have stopped actually going to such dialogues. What should be done is that they should listen to us and they should allow us to give our views rather than talking about religions that our religions gives very high standards. Please implement those standards rather than saying. And while I'm saying and I'm criticizing Pakistan, that doesn't mean I really feel pain. To be very honest and straightforward, each day I find Muslims being beaten in India. That really very sickening, and I find it equally, maybe more blood boiling to me. The way India is doing mainly with Muslims, and then sometimes with Christians as well. So I think South Asia is in a deep trouble on it. We need to, and the way I am given, I think if I were in India and I have spoken all these things there, I would have been targeted in Pakistan and in India. So I think I see that Pakistan is growing and India must learn from us. And so is other countries as well. I think religious tolerance is decreasing there while it is improving in Pakistan. In some ways it is not, but in some ways it is.
Thank you so much for acknowledging first our work. You've also indicated that English media is one of the medium where your rights or other minorities' rights are being portraying or are being propagated, right? As compared to the Urdu media. You've also highlighted that state basically should act as inclusive. I mean, you also gave compared India and Pakistan. So I really admire that you appreciate some of the minor efforts that Pakistan is taking in raising the voice or promoting inclusivity, I would say. So yeah, thank you so much. I'll quickly move on to our another question. Talking about your background, you have conducted several research projects in Pakistan on Pakistani Christians and other religious minorities, which you just indicated. Can you discuss some of your key findings and their implications?
Before I answer that, I'm really thankful that you are doing this work, and I think SARIM is one of the great platforms. Here, we have been able to express our views and convey what is being going on, and you have been open to listening to us. This is really great. I don't think, as I said a few years back, it wasn't possible, but that's very good. That is very encouraging for us. That at least we can speak our heart, and that's the most important thing. And I'm very happy that you are doing. There are people, definitely. This Pakistan is not. It's not a like absolutely total barren place. There are people, good people, and they are doing. In my research, the finding, the first thing as I said, that untouchability is definitely, you have already touched it, that this is coming from the Indian side, or we have inherited it. Um, uh, so I think one finding is that things are changing. Second, my finding is that uh, discriminatory laws are now an old story. Recently, there have been very few but overall now those laws are not being made the way it was in 80s and 90s, you can say. There's inclusivity. Pakistan in 2002 brought back the elections. Yes, inclusive. But was brought, and even seats have been provided. Though I am not very happy with the representation, the type of representation is being given. That's another story we can discuss some other time. The other finding is that minorities in Pakistan are treated as if they are one single um, homogenous group, which is not correct, which is why Pakistan is actually not treating minorities well. I think this is the most important thing. Religious minorities are, are you can say, uh, they come from very different backgrounds. They come with not just religious difference, but also their cultural differences and their economic status, which is the most important thing. Is, for example, Sikhs, they get very good representation. They are in government, despite being few thousand. They are in all the assemblies. But on the other side, and in Hindus from upper caste, they are everywhere in the assemblies. But the scheduled caste, they get very little representation, and Christians also these days their representation is going down. So we need to look at which religious minorities as a collection, or as a thing, or you can say mosaic of the different religions. Then our finding is that Christians and scheduled caste Hindus are poorest among the poor. They need to be taken care of. Also, Christians in, for example, Lahore, we have conducted research for UNDP. They are the only minority in Lahore who live in ghettos. So ghettos are made when you are afraid of someone, you want to avoid everyday interaction with someone. We are fearful living with Muslims, so we have made our own ghettos. So ghettos, if they we live in ghettos, it means it's not that it's our choice. It's the culture where we are hated and we feel like have social hostilities. In order to avoid those hostilities, we are living in those ghettos. So this needs to be taken into account, that this needs to change. Then we have seen that there is a disproportionate representation of Christians and scheduled caste Hindus in occupation. Again, going back to the Hindu caste system and untouchability, but this is prevailing in Pakistan. And Christians are kept in the sanitation work. In Lahore, 5% population, but over 80% are Christian. Islamabad, Christians are 2-3%, but in cleaning, maybe 100% are Christian. So it means that the caste system exists in Pakistan, but Pakistan is denying it on international level. And at the we have also found that forced conversion is particularly an issue of certain religious minorities. For example, Hindus and Christians, not even of Sikhs as well. So this needs to be checked, how different minorities have facing different challenges. So we conducted one research on World Bank's money coming to Pakistan, to its project of Pakistan Poverty Alleviation Fund from 2009 to 2015. We saw that the World Bank spent like $250 million. And in the project proposal, they identified minorities as vulnerable groups. But they when they were doing this, they did not care for minorities at all, from bottom to top down. We checked everything. There is a paper written on it, available in a book, and you can find it in Google Books, because it's all the book is available. And so these are the things that needs to be checked, that when such things distribution is done, that distribution is inclusive and religious minorities are included in it.
Thank you so much for giving us your detailed input, and you've shared some of the points from those reports. And yeah, I mean, untouchability is very grave in our region. I won't say in Pakistan. In Pakistan, it's prevailing. One of my cousin was saying, "Ke acha yaar, ye kaam yehi karte hain." So I was really surprised to hear that. So yeah, I totally agree with you, and I've experienced that. I have read a couple of articles that why these sanitation work only has been designed for Christians, or have been allocated for Christians, and especially Christians and other minorities groups as well. You talked about the forced conversion, which is again a key issue here. I was also surprised to hear from your side that some of the Christian minorities are still living in ghetto in Lahore, right? So that's very pressing issue. Quickly, I'll just have to restart this. So I just have 7 minutes left in this session, and I have to restart it for another remaining questions. So are there any promising initiatives or moments that you have seen in recent years that are working to promote greater tolerance and equality for religious minorities in Pakistan? Although you've touched upon an improving state, so I would like you to address this as well.
I think first I'm saying that the people there is some space to discuss the issues. This is the first thing, and I think this is a good thing. Until before, we were like, no one will listen, and then no one will give a forum, and now we have many forums, including SARIM. So I think this is a good thing. And then government has started giving jobs as well. In the last 10 years, we see there is a difference. And sometimes the advertisements do not clearly say, but then there are advertisements that clearly require non-Muslims. And then we have seen several on this side, Punjab, Christians have come on the minority quota. And then recently in 2000, 21. Education quota for religious minorities is introduced in Punjab. So there are initiatives. There's need to more be inclusive, and actually, I think sympathetic hearts are needed. It's like not for sake of tokenism or just for the sake of showing to the West that we are very kind to our minorities. Beyond that, looking at minorities as human beings is actually required. That needs to be done. So I think things are improving and getting better. But then we also recent killings of non-Muslim targeted killing, which is a new thing. And again, I believe, and when I worked on it, that these such movements are very smart. They understand what are the social fault lines, and those fault lines are used in such terrorist acts. So the government needs to look at it how to uh, control this.
Absolutely. So, another question, what can individuals and organizations outside of Pakistan do to support religious minorities in our country?
To be very honest and straightforward, I hate somebody sitting outside of Pakistan and blaming Pakistan and calling it it's not a place. They are doing this and this. If somebody, even those who are Christian or Hindus, and they are sympathetic to me, my children, they need to be more careful. It's me talking about state, Pakistan, and Muslims in a harsh language. I'm living here. I'm witnessing it. And I need to be saying, but those who are living outside, they need to be using decent language, one. Second thing is, I want that if they really care, they need to get in touch on two levels. One is the state level, and they need to promote like the state, asking them that we support you in the US or Australia or Europe, but you need to do is you need to be inclusive. And while at the same time, they need to negotiate and they need to bring such issues very nicely and gently because they are living outside of the world. And we shouldn't be, because of their act, we might not be associated with them. They find it easy to target Pakistan while creating difficult challenges for us here. And I think the intention might not be bad, but then their method is actually wrong. And that's all what I'm saying. Thirdly, I think rather than just blaming everything on the state, they should also see if they can do something. So because I have my two brothers living in one in the US and one in Holland, and I see that they are how they can contribute in the lives of the Pakistani Christians. All the time, if they spend on sitting on the Facebook and just sending out such things, it's better if they do work for a few hours and send some money and teach some for kids. They spend on their education. So I think, and those communities that have prospered, like Zoroastrians or Parsis, they have taken care of their communities. So they don't just blame the government, they actually take responsibility. So I think individuals and organizations, rather doing that, I'm fine. That's not the thing, but then they should also practically contribute and help the state grow, mature, become more inclusive rather than just being criticizing it. I think there's a lot of things that they can do.
Absolutely. I mean, I really like the way you said it. I mean, it basically gave me confidence that there are people still here who do want to have their own capacity rather than accepting dictations. I mean, you gave the examples of your brothers only. I mean, and others who are known as keyboard warriors, jo chalate rehte hain tweets and all that. Instead of doing that, they should initiate such trainings like capacity building. They should be doing awareness sessions as well, and dialogue as well. As we are speaking, we are learning from each other. So this is something that has to be done on international level. Second last question. I mean, in your experience, what are some successful approaches to raising awareness and promoting interfaith dialogue and understanding in Pakistan? We touched upon that, so I want you to give a detail.
Yeah, some of it I have actually already answered it. We need to be inclusive. We need to be sympathetic. We need to giving space to them. We need to not just talking about merit, but those with little effort who can be brought into the system and who can be mainstream, that should be done. And voters should need to see that they can vote beyond religion. If you can love seeing people coming in power in the UK, you can at least here make somebody a member of parliament based on not based on his religion. You can think of beyond that. We are not asking you make us prime minister or president of the country. Definitely, that's not the. It's not in the constitution. That's fine. But at least you can elect them on general seats in union council as a district member or as a provincial member or as a national assembly member. This you can do that. So I think this inclusivity sense of taking them, making them feel that they are like you, and telling them that this is your country. This is very hard for Pakistani Muslims. They are dying in poverty. They are doing performing nothing. But when it say give a chance, let minorities feel that this is their country, all of a sudden they start thinking we can't let them do anything they want to. While this is nothing is being done, what can all the movements in last 75 years, you say, tell one instance when religious minorities made any separatist movement or something like this. They are not thinking doing anything like this. So give them a feeling that this is their country as well. That should be the approach. Telling them that this is your country as well. We are together.
Absolutely agree with you. So our last question would be, sir, this is something again related to your work that what you've been doing. How can education systems in Pakistan be reformed to promote greater awareness and acceptance of religious diversity? A tricky
By
question.
by by doing this, actually you will do favor to Pakistanis, all the Pakistanis. Now I teach, and such a difficult situation, actually, honestly telling you. I mean, if you talk about science, they say no, we are not. First, they don't have the capacity to think that they can think. Imagine. One. Second, they don't have the capacity to think that they can answer a question based on their thinking. They think that the only one way, and that is rote memorization. And they cannot think creatively. What they need to do is Pakistan needs to bring some creativity in the curriculum. It should give some spark, a feeling that those who they are not zombies, they are human beings, and they can think out of the box. Not even or at least within the box, they can think. So this the situation is like this. This is horrible situation. And I each day fight with you can say fight. Yeah, I keep quarreling with them that no, this is not the way to think. So it is even not just about religion. So one thing is bring creativity. Second thing is bring critical thinking. Please make Pakistani students realize that they can think and they can question things. And then the third thing is, which everybody is saying, that give some representation of religious minorities, making them feel that this country has non-Muslims as well living here. So I can recall my son one years back coming back from school, and he said, "Hum sab Musliman hai. We all are Muslim." I said, "Who said this?" He said, "It's written in my Urdu book." No, I can't recall now the reference to it, but so that's the point is the curriculum should be made to feel inclusive. I am really, to be very straightforward and honest, and I have always been referring to it. I have no problem Pakistan having Islamic identity. It's 96% people's faith. So that's fine. But that doesn't mean you make me feel inferior. That is the problem. So look at the curriculum which does not make me feel inferior or which does not make me feel excluded. So these are the small things, maybe not small things for Pakistan. It will take it like 100 years. Now I think that way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Asif Saab, for giving us a very, a diverse feedback or comments on many of my questions. Um, any last message or anything that you want to lay for our audience?
Well, I think now I at this age I have started thinking that this religion is, yes, fine. I have been a warrior on this front, writing, raising, advocating, and but I think even I myself, I need to look myself. Do I think that Muslims are human beings? Do I look at them when I see them and I find human in them? So this humanistic approach, and not again as a word and as a philosophy or something, just thinking that we all are human beings and giving some space to each other and thinking, because the first thing when we are discriminating someone is we dehumanize. We believe that, oh, they are dirty, or they are not human beings. They are not full human beings. We are superior, they are less human beings. They are inferior. They belong to inferior blood. They don't deserve sympathy. So I think only one thing is that we start meeting each other as human beings and respect each other as human beings. And then, yes, we look at whatever the religion says, we follow that. We believe in that. Fine, that's not a problem. As I said, I don't have any problem with Pakistan's Islamic ideology or Pakistan's Islamic outlook. It is just not making me feel if I am not human. That's all.
Amazing. Thank you so much, sir.